All
Good
right,
morning,
we're
good
back.
evening again. Namo
Good morning.
Mitsu.
So we were discussing
Yeah.
the 11th vow, and
Yes. You want to continue with
yeah.
that bit for a bit?
Sure. And what I
And then go
wanted
to
to
22nd vow. I also would like to read the passage from the chapter on teaching where it talks about the merit transference of going forth and return. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, you want to bear with me a sec. I'll give you the. Yep, you should be able to share now.
Okay, so
I cannot see it yet.
yeah, I haven't shared it.
Oh, right. Okay.
I was
Okay. No worries.
thinking. You there.
Cool.
Okay. And you see it.
It's still there. We go. Now we have
Yeah. So we were
contact.
discussing this 11th vow
Yep.
in the Larger Sutra, very important, one of the 5 true vows, true and real vows. This one is basically what the chapter on realization is based on. It's a commentary on one vow. And the realization is kind of two parts to it. One is the dwelling in the definitely assured stage, the entering into the definitely assured stage, here and now. And Shinran equates this with immediately being born in the Pure Land, Sokutoku Ojo. And the second part is Metsudo, right? Kitsu. I navigated away from it. Anyway, it's Metsudo. So this one,
There we go.
Metsudo, which is, and it's sometimes translated extinction. Snuffing out nirvana. This is the basic meaning, right, of nirvana.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't understand, like, well, what is extinguished? Am I going to be extinguished? Oh no, that sounds scary. I don't want to be extinguished. And some people misunderstand the meaning of nirvana. What is extinguished is physical and emotional suffering. It's the cessation of suffering and its causes, which is of course our our ways of looking at the world that are not helpful, right? And then liberation from that self-centered, unenlightened
Delusional
worldview that we are stuck in, delusional. So that what is extinguished is the chain. that is what is extinguished. You're free at that point. A Buddha, when they are
you're sort of unborn
when a Buddha
from all of
realizes enlightenment, they are released, liberated from those. So it's a positive thing, not like some people think.
You're returning to your true state.
Snuffed out.
It's like returning to the true state, your true. Yeah. Your Buddha nature. You're realizing Buddha nature, your true nature.
And if we look at nirvana, so great thing about the Buddhist dictionary, of course. I don't need to probably introduce this to anyone, but it has all these thorough definitions. So nirvana, blown or put out, extinguished as a lamp or fire, calm, quieted, sane, etc., etc. All of these meanings, flowing out, extinction, cessation.
That's really good.
And of course, it does also mean
perfect calm and repose or happiness, highest bliss, or Beatitude. Yeah.
Beatitude. Now, some of these definitions are compiled from really, really old sources, and some of them are not very accurate. You do have to be, you have to use a certain amount of judgment with this.
Sure.
Some of the sources are like written by, Protestant missionaries in the 19th century.
Beatitude, the use of beatitude was,
beatitude.
I noticed that. Yeah, that was definitely an influence there. Or even the use of the word worship, translating a word as worship rather than sort of revere or homage to, or,
or reverence.
Yeah.
So you run into some odd choices, but yeah, so basic meaning of nirvana is the extinguishing of life passion, things that drive us to, suffer.
Exactly.
Simply put. So once the cause of suffering is eliminated, the suffering is caused by necessity. So that meaning of method. So that's what I'm saying here. Unfailingly reach nirvana. And of course, this vow is fulfilled, and but the key parts I was pointing out in our last session was kokuchu ninden. Kokuchu ninden. So sometimes people will say stuff. People will sort of say things like, "Well, we just have to suffer through this life, and we can't really know or be sure of anything, but and we can't have joy in this life. But when we're dead, man, we're gonna go to that.
Yeah, man, it's a party.
And it's all gonna be a glorious thing, this sort of life negating kind of idea. And
most nihilistic kind of, but
fight
not
back
really
against that interpretation, because we're really being drawn toward an interpretation where that is more something we can experience and live into here and now, and not like, well, when we're dead, great things will happen, kind of, like my we used to sing in the Protestant churches, I think, too, as a kid, when I die, hallelujah, by and by, all fly away.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll fly away when I'm
and you get this is another one. This is exactly. Oh, exactly. I've definitely been there for a few of those those songs and services and hymns. Though I have to say, I find that I don't sort of subscribe to that belief system or worldview or understanding of reality anymore. I do find the music because of it being, it's quite nostalgic for me. That sort of, if you see what I mean. When I hear it, I feel the warmth of earlier days. You know what I mean? Anyway, that sort of thing. So, but anyway,
I can definitely relate.
Yeah. So, but there's a aspect of this that gets into, how we've talked about where someone goes through and says, okay, so, have you entrusted to Amida, said his name and aspired to go to his land? Like, have you, you ask the question, okay, do you trust to Amida? Yes. Do you do you say his name? Yes. Do you, aspire to go to his land? Yes. Well, you obviously have Shinjin then.
There you go. You're all set.
So there's a similar thing here where there's these questions like, well, ask questions like about, well, are you in this state? Are you in this of being a Buddha? Are you have these do you have the marks of a Buddha? Do you have do you know what I mean? Like it goes to the well, no. Well, then you're not in the Pure Land yet. Do you see what I mean? It's a similar kind of making it black and white and calculative,
Yeah, right.
Hakurai,
When the
a
truth
Hakurai
is
exercise, we'll call it.
that,
A Hakurai, an
yeah,
exercise in Hakurai that is engaged
yep,
in to make you think, well, it's not, it's not here and now. It's,
yeah,
do you see what I mean?
it's later.
There's somehow it has to be
Yeah,
either or. There's the
right,
mindset.
right.
There's this mindset where it has to
Yep.
be either or. And actually, the teachings are it's both. you know, you're
Yeah,
both
it's
you're
there's
both
a
Bambu, you're both Bambu, and you have the mind of a Buddha in Shinjin.
yeah.
So,
And the truth
and
is this is
yeah.
the topic called Heisei Ojo or Genzei Ojo, birth in the Pure Land in this life. It's of course in like Mikyo, there's an esoteric doctrine where people believe that they can become um, they can be born in the Pure Land and literally become like a Buddha in this life, right? So
Mhm,
there's a
mhm,
Mikyo interpretation
mhm,
of
mhm.
Amida's
Yeah,
teaching.
yeah,
But that's not what we have in the Pure Land. In the Pure
no.
Land, um, somebody put it really well. I think it was
And that's not
Sogo
what we teach in
Ryojin.
Jodo Shinshu. That's not Jodo Shinshu
Right.
teaching that we
And I
can
think it
become a Buddha in
was,
this life.
I want to say it was Sogo Ryojin, but I could be wrong.
Otani.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Sogo is always extremely careful. Sogo Ryojin is one of the legends of modern Shinshu
Mm,
thought. He was in the Higashi
mm, mhm,
school, but that's neither here nor there. But he said so. He was always extremely careful to differentiate the Jodo Shinshu perspective from the Pure Land as mind alone doctrine found in some Pure Land and Zen schools. Quote: "Those who believe in self-power proudly boast, 'I am Tathagata.' Those of other Pure Land sects vainly lament this life, saying, 'Tathagata is the Tathagata.' We, Jodo Shinshu followers, are surprised by the wondrous meaning of the Tathagata is me. At the same
mm,
time, we are aware that ultimately I am
mhm,
me and not
mhm,
Tathagata."
mhm. Exactly. It's like
So,
in Jodo Shinshu, in true Jodo Shinshu, we have, you have kind of sects of
mm,
Amida teachings that say
yeah, Pure Land teachings.
it's either or. In
Right.
Jodo
And the
Shinshu,
either or
we're
is
we're
here,
both
right?
and. In Jodo Shinshu, we're both and. In one school or
And
another, it's
neither.
either or. Yeah, one has
Yeah.
this, it's either or. We're both and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And so this is very important. I think, um, it's a bit of a topic of debate regarding, when exactly the Pure Land was entered into. And I have tended, as I have deepened my study of Jodo Shinshu and my appreciation of the teaching, I have my personal journey and has led me toward leaning in the direction of Ginzei Ojo, so Tokutoku Ojo, right?
mhm. Yeah.
In some sense, we realize first in the Pure Land in the present life through the entering into the stage of non-retrogression and then Metsudo.
Yeah.
But it's it's a complicated topic. I was talking to Kobayashi Sensei at his home in Osaka once, and he was saying, if we're going to take Shenron's words in Shogyo Shinsho at their face value, then we kind of have to we have to agree with the principle of Genzei Ojo, of birth in the Pure Land in the present. And his perspective was, and Kobai Sensei, he is a Nishi Hongonji priest, of course, but he is also very influenced by like all kinds of Shinshu thought and thinkers. So like Kyozawa Matsuki, you know, Sozu-yoji. He once told me that he went to school like for Shinshu for his doctoral, training, like near where Sozu-yoji studied or taught or something like that. But anyway, like he said, because the recent tendency of some teachers in the organization is to downplay the entering into the stage of non-retrogression and the real significance of that, and to emphasize more this idea of being born in the Pure Land later. Kobai Sensei said to me, at that time, he said, maybe we need to switch to emphasizing birth in the Pure Land in this life, because the significance of Shoujoju has been lost.
Yes.
So it might be a better way to express the meaning, the truth of the teaching in a way that is kind of can be renewed and new and fresh for people, with the gist of what you said. Now, I haven't discussed it in detail with him since then, but I do know that he wrote a poem.
It's good to hear that Aiken Kobai Sensei is, this is something he's aware of and discussing, and unsurprisingly that he would,
And he wrote a poem in Japanese about it too. Kensei I was going to translate it, but I never got around to it. I should look it up and see if I can translate it. But anyway, my point in bringing all that up is to say, yes, it is a topic that is debated and discussed, and we have this history in Shinshu of debate. It's kind of funny because, Shinron or Honen says, avoid all scholarly debate. Well, the whole history of Jodo Shinshu is scholarly debate.
Well, let's call it dialogue.
One of the ironies.
Dialogue, discussion.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm just giving that as a bit of a disclaimer. But I think, again, it's a topic. The real point. You have to read the text. You have to think for yourself, and you have to find what is true for you. It has to be your own.
Well, it has to become real. It has
to be real for you.
It's Shinjitsu. Yeah. It has to become true and real for you, for me. The teaching is for me alone. The teaching is for me alone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's for me alone. And so when I think about things like, we've talked about the process of Amita's working, the process of Shinjin, the process of Jin and Hone, the process of Amita's vow, when does that, when can you define when things are happening, when you're being transformed? When does the transformation occur? When does the transformation start? When does the merit transference begin? Do you see what I mean? So anyway, but
we have to affirm. We have to be careful that we affirm that there is a dwelling in stage of non-retrogression.
Yes, I agree. And there's a one thought moment. There is a one thought moment where doubt is gone, where you're hearing without doubt. There is a moment where you're hearing without doubt. You're saying the name without doubt.
And Kobai Sensei, speaks out a lot about the tendency in recent times for people to de-emphasize Shinjin as a real experience, as a transforming, real experience.
Yes.
And it's sometimes called Mukimyo Anji, sort of peace of mind without taking refuge, that's a whole another topic. But anyway, I wanted to it's not here. Oh yeah, the fifth letter in the Zensho text of the letters of Shinron to Shoshinbo. I wanted to read this. Kind of on that note, we were discussing humans and Davis in my land, dwell on the stage of So I was thinking, let's read this.
Yeah, yeah, please do.
So, since those who have realized Shinji necessarily abide in the stage of the truly settled, they are in the stage equal to the perfect enlightenment. In the larger Sutra of Immeasurable Life, those who have been grasped, never to be abandoned, are said to be in the stage of the truly settled. And in the Sutra of the Tathagata of Immeasurable Life, they are said to have attained the stage equal to perfect enlightenment. Although they differ, the terms truly settled and equal to enlightenment have the same meaning and indicate the same stage. Equal to the perfect enlightenment is the same stage as that of Maitreya, who is in the rank of succession to Buddhahood. Since persons of Shinjin will definitely attain the supreme enlightenment, they are said to be the same as Maitreya. Now, the larger sutra speaks of the stage next to enlightenment, Maitreya. Since Maitreya is already close to Buddhahood, it is the custom in various schools to speak of him as Maitreya Buddha. Since those counted among the truly settled are at the same stage as Maitreya, they are also said to be equal to the Tathagata. Know that persons of true Shinjin can be called the equal of Tathagatas because even though they themselves are always impure and creating karmic evil, their hearts and minds are already equal to Tathagatas.
There it is.
Now here's the real mic drop. Since it is already established that Maitreya will attain the supreme enlightenment, we speak of the dawn of the three assemblies when he will preach as a Buddha. The person who lives the truth and reality of the Pure Land should understand this. In the hymns on the Samadhi of all Buddha's presence, Shantao, the master of Huangmi Temple, explains that the heart of the person of Shinjin already and always resides in the Pure Land. Resides means that the heart of the person of Shinjin constantly dwells there. This is to say that such a person is the same as Maitreya. Since being of the stage equal to enlightenment is being the same as Maitreya, the person of Shinji is equal to the Tathagatas. Kaboom. Namu Amida Butsu.
Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
I don't even need
who could say it better?
Commentary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear. The heart of the person of Shinjin already and always resides in the Pure Land.
Already there.
Kokuchu.
You're already there.
Yeah.
And are equal.
And yes, end is equal to, and I just wanted to share. And I can't stand how this
hearts are already equal too. Oh, I
right
know.
Here,
I know.
I just want to look at the Japanese of it. So Komyoji no Kasho, Zendo. This is Komyoji is the temple that Shantao was at, lived in China, ancient China. No Hanju-san. The Hanju-san is his work on the what's it called in English? Hymns on the Samadhi of all Buddha's presence. Shinjin no Hito wa, the person of Shinjin. Sono Shin, that heart, that Shinjin, that heart of that person. Sude ni jodo ni kosu. Now kosu, this means to live in. So like in Japanese, this kanji here just means like if I live in a house, I use this kanji. So this word. So
you're in the house.
The person of Shinjin is in the house of the Pure Land, living in the Pure Land. In the house. I love it.
Persons of Shinjin in the house.
In the house, man. We are in the house.
We're so down with the chillins, aren't we? Anyway.
Toshaku shi tamaeru. So this is his explanation. Kosu toyu wa. So the meaning of this to dwell in. Jodo ni, here in the Pure Land. Shinji no hito no kokoro, heart, mind. Tsune ni, always, itari, toyu kokoro nari. So always dwells, always lives in the Pure Land. And sudeni means already. So already.
Already.
Not, you don't have to wait for it. It's already.
I'm
Well,
already gone.
I'm already there.
In the best way possible.
Korewa
I'm already there.
miroku to onajiku to yu koto o mosu naru. So the same as Maitreya.
Yeah.
Korewa to shogaku. O miroku to onaji to mosu ni yotte shinjin no hito wa nyorai to hitoshi. The person of Shinjin is the same, is equal to the Tathagata. Tomosu Kuguro Nagi Namanda. Shinran. So that is something I just wanted to share. And now, if you have anything you wanted to think, say,
should we
thoughts about
go to the 22nd vow? Or
Sure,
should
yeah,
we read the passage that I just that passage from
we should
from Kyogo Shinsho about when I reverently contemplating. That's the first thing he says in his opus is, that Shinran Shonen says is, reverently contemplating Amida's directing of virtue for going forth to the Pure Land. I find there is great Shinjin and great practice.
Yep.
And doesn't he say, and then that's for going forth to the Pure Land. Yeah. So then, the great practice. The great practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of infinite light. This practice, embodying all good acts and possessing all roots of virtue, is perfect and most rapid in bringing about birth. It is the treasure ocean of virtues that is suchness of true reality. For this reason, it is called great practice. Amida's great practice. This practice arises from the vow of great compassion, which is known as the vow that all Buddhas extol the name, the vow that all Buddhas say the name, the vow that all Buddhas praise the name. It might also be called the vow of directing virtue for going forth, and the vow in which the saying of the name is selected. So that's the going forth part, and that's the process that by which we're brought to and to non-retrogression.
And the
and our birth is settled.
I remember hearing someone talking about how the actual Japanese character for Ojo, I don't know if we can find it on the dictionary.
Sorry, I thought I lost you there.
No. To be reborn. But really, this Ojo, this character alone means birth, right? So when Shinran says, for example, that birth in the fulfilled land, birth in the Pure Land is no birth, right? Is birth in the Pure Land is no birth. It's musho, no birth. And this Ojo, this O here actually means to go. So the word together means going to be born. And this implies a process, or that includes the going as well as the being born as if it was in one, kind of concept or meaning. So yeah, the passage you shared from the chapter on practice. Do we want to move on and read the 22nd?
The 22nd vow, please. Yes, let's do that. And then I also would like to read passages or passage from Shinran. Oh, we're running out of time, but from Shinran about the return as well.
Sure.
But, yeah. Anyway.
So 22nd. So if when I attain Buddhahood, bodhisattvas in the Buddha lands of the other directions who visit my land cannot ultimately and unfailingly reach the stage of becoming a Buddha after one more life, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Accepted are those who wish to teach and guide sentient beings in accordance with their original vows. For they will wear the armor of great vows, accumulate merits, deliver all beings from birth and death, visit Buddha lands to perform the Bodhisattva practices, make offerings to Buddha Tathagatas about the indirection, enlightening countless sentient beings as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, and establish them in highest perfection. Such bodhisattvas transcend the course of practice of ordinary bodhisattvas, manifest the practices of all the bodhisattva stages, and cultivate the virtues of Samantha Bodhisattva. Wow.
Yes.
There's a lot there.
Wow, indeed.
The basic gist of it is that, so I've heard a commentary somewhere incorrectly, was the idea that some people who are born in the Pure Land will just sit it out and enjoy themselves there, and only those who actually want to come back will come back.
Okay.
I never. Yeah.
Wow, I've never even heard that one, but
Yeah.
I could see people wishfully thinking that.
Wishfully thinking.
Wishfully thinking that. I could see that someone coming up with that to, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've
but
never.
The interpretation, the true interpretation of this is that all who are born in the Pure Land immediately return to teach and guide.
Exactly.
And Tanisho interprets this as, yeah, BRB. Tanisho interprets very poetically, or very, we don't want to use that word, but very concretely as becoming one, the unhindered light that illuminates the tender right. That's pretty cool. Becoming one with that light.
Becoming that, the ultimate suchness.
Yeah, and that to me is like a really.
I think
that's easy to.
I think we need to say something here. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that there is, poetic. There's poetic usage. There's nothing wrong with poetic usage from the Dharma, in this text, or to see it that way, I should say, or use of language that way, because the whole idea of poetry is to convey a meaning that's beyond words.
Exactly.
It's to convey a meaning beyond words. Convey an intuitive.
It's all poetry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
in that sense.
Particularly dharmic texts, I would say. Yeah. Anyway.
But we just have to be careful. In Kaneko Daio warned against this in his preliminary speech at the opening of Otani University. He warned against symbolizing the symbolization of everything, where there's no longer any no more meaning can be gotten. If everything means anything, then nothing means anything. You know what I mean? So there's the words again. We don't want to get moonstruck. We're supposed to be looking at the moon,
not the finger.
But the direction of the finger is important.
Yes,
the finger is pointing at the moon,
and the finger is there because we can't really directly understand.
Because if the finger was pointing at the sun, we go blind. So the finger is in fact pointing at the moon. So the direction of the finger is significant.
It is important,
and that is to say, the words are important in that they direct us correctly to
the meaning,
the truth. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah. No, I agree. Agreed. So I mean, it's the importance of the return. I think is huge to me. That's a
Yeah.
huge part. Early on in my Jodo Shinshu journey, that was a
Hmm.
significant that kind of understanding in Jodo Shinshu. I
Yeah.
more perceive that than in other Pure Land gates or Pure Land
Yeah.
schools. Um, and that really had a significant impact on. I think that was just kind of part of the working. It
Yeah.
had a very that was always in my mind. It was like, okay, you're a me. It's you get there, you're already back.
Yeah.
As you're already back to help. You're already,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like we're here to help. Sorry, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, couldn't resist. No, but did you see what I'm saying? In all seriousness,
Yeah.
that's the whole
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
bodhisattva, um, that bodhisattva teaching,
Yeah.
truth,
Aspiration.
reality is a part of my life. Was a part of my life from that.
Yeah.
That when I really started to try to understand Jodo Shinshu and
Hmm.
and listening to Paul Roberts and his
Hmm.
videos and being part of the
Yeah.
Trucian Buddhism group. It was in there. That was a big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
For sure. Yeah.
my own readings, particularly more so, my own
Yep.
readings of the directly, that was there. It was like all over the place. Um,
Yeah.
um, and it just, I'd say that
Yeah.
aspect of the teaching had a massive
Yeah. Yeah.
impact,
It's one of the
always
coolest.
gearing me. It was the completion. It was almost like all of this
Yeah.
is that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? All of this is to bring you to that.
Yeah.
It
And
was like
it's,
the ultimate Mahayana
yeah. And
flip.
to me, it was kind of
You know?
incredible because I was coming from a rather stale, dry Protestant, sort of fundamentalistic background where, you die and you go to heaven and that's it. And then you
Yeah.
sing the praises of, of
Pearly
God for
gates,
eternity and other
golden
people
paths.
go to hell for eternity. You know what I mean? And that was all there was to it. And I always thought, well, I'm like George MacDonald, the great Scottish writer. I'm not going to just sit in heaven while all these people are suffering.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and help them. And
Yeah.
you, are you aware of George MacDonald?
I've heard the name, but I don't really know anything
Okay,
about him.
he'd be
So
good to look into. He was very kind of a mystical. He had a profound faith, but he
mm,
was raised in a strict Calvinist
mm,
Scottish
mm,
upbringing, and he
mm,
turned against a lot of the teachings like eternal damnation and predestination and some stuff like that. And he sort of discovered a path to universal reconciliation within
mm.
Christian teaching.
Yeah.
That's in some ways is very similar to the idea of the Bodhisattva, you know. But anyway,
Anyway,
and so
well,
coming from that
yeah,
background,
we've
I
got 1 minute
you know
just to remind you.
yeah,
We've got
sure,
1 minute.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. The the teaching of after being, after attaining nirvana, you are then coming back, going out
Yeah.
to save and rescue is
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
I wanted, I needed to hear.
Exactly.
And
Well,
so that
it
that was
just
huge for me.
yeah, and it was huge for me because it just molded everything from then on.
Yeah,
That was it was just that work that was the work that was just what molded and directed and funneled and expanded and you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
All of my understanding of the Jodo Shinshu teaching. So
Deliver all beings
yes,
from birth and death.
the ultimate
All
Mahayana. It was the
keyword
ultimate
here.
yeah, it's like the ultimate Mahayana.